Hey, this is Dena. Welcome to the Den. In the past, I've started off 2 film dens where I talked about a horror icon. In fact, I had Freddy and Pinhead at odds with each other as for which was my favorite. Honestly, it just depends on how I'm feeling in the moment. But boy, if you had asked me in high school who my favorite horror icon was, I definitely would have said Chucky. Like, you wouldn't even have time to finish the question. Who's your favorite?
Chucky!
I don't know what happened to me in high school that made me so damn obsessed with Chucky, but I really was. I've got an entire folder full of fan art somewhere. Sadly, I don't have access to it at the moment. Maybe I'll show it off in a later video, but for now, you'll just have to take my word for it. Actually, I do kinda know what it was. Chucky is different in nearly every way. Freddy, Pinhead, and hell, let's add Jason and Michael Myers, are all physically imposing. Like, if you met one of them in a dark alley, you would shit yourself. If you met Chucky in a dark alley, you'd be all, oh, what a cute little doll! Oh my god, why is it stabbing me? He's adorable, yet deadly. Not to mention he's got quite the foul little mouth on him.
Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me!
Shit! You stupid bitch! You filthy slut! Let me out, you little dick!
Don't fuck with the Chuck!
His appearance and his character do not match up. And I just love that kind of contradiction, but I'll go more into that later. This movie was originally the brainchild of Don Mancini, who wrote the script, which was originally called Batteries Not Included, but that obviously had to be changed. The second title was Blood Buddy, which was also Chucky's original name. Actually not inspired by the real-life doll that Chucky most resembles, because the script predates the My Buddy doll. But it's just as well that it didn't stick. Tom Holland, no, not that one, this one was fresh off of Fright Night, came in to polish the script. You have to realize that in the 80s, expensive animatronic dolls were just becoming a thing. Probably the most memorable is Teddy Ruxpin, and Tom Holland is one of those people who finds dolls really creepy, so he thought that one of those talking dolls was a great basis for a horror movie. Then another writer, John LaFia, came in to further polish the script. The first thing he did was go to Toys R Us and look at all of the dolls for inspiration. Apparently this talking doll, called Corky, was the biggest influence. Not to mention the Living Doll Twilight Zone episode was also an inspiration. If you're not up on your classic Twilight Zone, I highly recommend watching that.
My name is Talking Dena, and you'll be sorry.
It's one of my favorites. Meanwhile, David Kirshner, who previously worked as a designer for Jim Henson, came up with a design for the character. And he was the one who brought in Kevin Yeager for the animatronics, which was a fairly new medium at the time, at least when used to this extent. Everything had to be perfect the first time. You couldn't go back and fix it later with CGI. And if you think Chucky was scary in the movie, you should see how he looked before they put the skin on. But without further ado, let's get into the actual movie. And no, I'm not gonna watch the stupid fucking remake. Now you don't have to bother asking me about it in the comments section. So we open on a cop pursuing a criminal. We're gonna find out later that he's a serial killer called the Lakeshore Strangler. His cohort Eddie ditches him when things get bad.
Help me!
Remember that, it'll be on the test later. Things aren't going well for the Strangler. He's been shot in the leg and the cop is close behind, but he ducks into a toy store. It's weird how big this font is. Makes it look like a TV movie. Also, kudos to the prop department for having all of those dolls made and put into boxes just for this one scene. Much as I love the first sequel, this is something that it doesn't do. Though it's kind of understandable with how many... You'll see what I mean eventually. Also, looking back on this shot, it's hard not to think about Toy Story 2. Do all good guy dolls think they're Charles Lee Ray at first? Nice foreshadowing on this shot. Really, this toy store is an amusing backdrop for this scene. Look at Detective Norris surrounded by all this soft pink. Not to mention the Nutcracker and other stuff like that. Love the timing of that credit. Anyway, the Strangler is apparently bleeding to death, and all Norris really has to do at this point is follow the trail of blood. There's another great shot. The Strangler surrounded by metallic hot pink and a little baby doll in the foreground. This scene doesn't get enough credit for how the scenery clashes with the tone of what's going on. That's not a complaint though, I honestly love it.
Oh God, I'm dying. You hear that, you son of a bitch? I'm gonna get you, and I'm gonna get Eddie, no matter what!
He makes this declaration in front of a Barbie and the Rockers display. Anyone else remember when Mattel tried to cash in on Hasbro's success with Gem and the holograms? Good times. That's kind of a nice looking suit for a homeless serial killer. I guess he could have stolen it.
Better find somebody.
Anyway, he mentions that he has to find somebody. We'll find out later what that really means, but it's probably not too hard to figure out. I love how he literally stumbles onto the solution. Not quite what he had in mind, but it just might work. Norris is like, the fuck? You know what? I'm a big enough Child's Play fan that I know this chant by heart, and I notice whenever the movies change it. Didn't say I was proud of that fact. So much for all those little pink baby dolls. Now the store looks like the opening to Terminator 2. Now the Strangler is dead. He has a weirdly satisfied look on his face, though. And then the doll. I love that transition. So yeah, it's little Andy's 6th birthday.
And I'll be your friend to the end. Heidi ho, ha ha ha. I saw this one.
God, this kid's adorable. This breakfast he puts together, though. Jeez. Yeah, I doubt that cereal needs any more sugar. Anyway, that doll we saw at the beginning is from a hugely popular line of toys, which has this cartoon, cereal, pajamas, etc. And Andy gets distracted by a commercial. Forget Chucky, this guy in the mascot suit is way more terrifying.
Good guys say 3 different sentences.
Apparently the voice is Tom Holland. Anyway, it gives you a good idea of what these good guy dolls do. They talk and even look at you and blink and such when you talk to them. Which, speaking as someone who isn't especially put off by dolls like some people are, that's kinda creepy. Can you imagine being in the same room with this thing? Maybe you talk to yourself or make a sound of some kind, and it suddenly turns its head and looks right at you? Talk about nightmare fuel for little kids.
Hi, I'm Oscar, and I'm your friend to the end. Heidi ho, ha ha ha.
Andy thinks it's pretty cool, though.
So he can be your
Geez, how high did you turn up that toaster? Big old scoop of fake butter on blackened toast. All this is enough to make me lose my own breakfast.
Good guys and other fine toys.
Anyway, he looks over his birthday haul and is convinced he's getting one of those good guy dolls.
Wake up, Mommy, wake up.
Hey, it's what my cats do every morning. And if that breakfast didn't look bad enough already, it's for his mom. Yeah, he thought his mom would like good guy cereal with extra sugar on it. But yeah, he's getting her up early because he's excited about his birthday.
Well, this looks just excellent.
Also, fun fact, Don Mancini included this scene because this is apparently a thing he would do for his mom. Bring her sloppy breakfasts in bed when he was little. When his mom saw this scene, she thought it was really sweet. These two are so cute, though. Great chemistry and all that.
Oh, happy birthday, Pumpkin.
Leading off at this hour, Charles Lee Ray, the notorious Lakeshore Strangler.
I like how you can hear the news in the background and they're talking about the Lakeshore Strangler. Anyway, naturally, Andy wants to open the good guy-shaped box first.
Okay.
See, that should have been his first clue. My mom would have made me open that one last.
Well, what do you think?
I can't believe she put those little clothes in that big box. What a troll.
I know. You want some toys, don't you? Not boring old clothes. Try the other one.
Well, that one's obviously not a good guy doll. It is an attempt at a compromise, though it just kind of reminds him of the thing he really wanted and didn't get.
I want a good guy to go with it.
I know you do, Andy.
Poor mom, though. She wanted to get him one, but, well, Teddy Ruxpin cost $70 at the time. That'd be nearly $170 now if you adjust for inflation. I didn't know a single kid who had one. Probably only rich parents bought those. Anyway, I can imagine that good guy dolls were probably at least that much.
Hi, you know that doll that you wanted for Andy? Only cost $100.
Okay, assuming she's not just guessing, apparently good guy dolls were $100. That'd be about $240 now. God damn. Well, it was the 80s, everything was excessive, and everyone was obsessed with becoming rich. Good times. Anyway, this is the mom Karen's friend, Maggie, and she's discovered a homeless man who managed to scrounge toys from the destroyed toy store from the beginning, and he's selling them.
But we don't even know if the damn thing works.
By the way, Maggie is played by Dena I don't know how many people remember, but she was in a show called Empty Nest that started around the same time this movie came out and was a spin-off of Golden Girls. She played Carol. Who was kind of neurotic.
$50.
10 and not a penny more.
30.
What are you kidding me?
Damn, $30 is a steal. Just take it.
How do we know the damn thing isn't stolen, huh?
Steal this.
I think I dated him.
That was such a Carol thing she just said. You kind of had to be there because I don't think anyone really remembers Empty Nest, but 1988 me totally died. Anyway, their boss is waiting for them and tells Karen that she has to work late. And of course, she wanted to be home because it's her kid's birthday.
Mrs. Barclay, are you happy with your job here?
I love this guy. He's such a typical asshole TV boss. That tie, though.
Then I suggest...
Hey, chill out, would you, Walter? Huh?
Yeah, Carol would never say that. Anyway, the boss won't let her work Karen's shift, so she offers to watch Andy instead.
It'll be the hottest date I've had in months.
I can't imagine why.
Burn. She does at least get to pick up Andy from school and give him his gift.
This isn't groceries.
I mean, I know he's 6, but he really thought that was groceries?
What's your name? Hi, I'm Chucky.
Oh, that's so cute. And totally not gonna end in disaster.
Oh, Mom, thanks.
Oh. Later...
Eddie Caputo, reputed accomplice of Charles Lee Ray.
Yeah, Chucky is more interested in this news break about Eddie Caputo escaping. That's our first clue. Anyway, it's Andy's bedtime.
Chucky wants to watch the 9 o'clock news.
Sure he does.
This is something that always bothered me. Someone should have told Dinah she was being a little too rough with that prop. Freaking Chucky's arm came off. I can't believe they didn't reshoot that. And no, that wasn't intentional. Next time we see Chucky, his arm is back on. They just hoped no one would notice. Probably due to the shooting schedule, and they had to go with it. So while Andy is brushing his teeth, suddenly the TV turns on and Chucky is there watching it. Second clue. Those shoulder pads, though. So Andy gets a talking to even though he claims he didn't do anything.
Oh no, what did Chucky do? Walk into the living room and turn it on all by himself?
Did you do that, Chucky?
I cannot deal with how cute this kid is.
I told you she'd be mad at you if you watched the news.
A little later, Maggie hears little feet running around.
Andy?
Remember that Andy is wearing good guy pajamas and isn't a whole lot bigger than Chucky, so they'd look similar if you saw one of them in your peripheral vision. Anyway, this is a nicely tense and drawn out moment where Maggie is trying to figure out where those noises are coming from. Turns out a canister of flour was spilled.
How did that happen?
Nice jump scare.
Who else would it be? Is something wrong?
After talking to Karen, Maggie feels better, thinking she was overreacting.
Give Criswell a kick in the pants for me, huh?
Listen, Maggie, thank you for everything. You're a real pal.
I hope you don't die. She cleans up the mess, I guess thinking the canister was unbalanced and fell on its own or something. Seems like she'd be yelling at Andy if she thought he did it. But something doesn't look right over there.
I'm scaring myself half to death.
Oh, it's gonna suck to be Maggie. Also, kudos to that stunt person. That's a long way to fall, even on purpose. I'm surprised that didn't set off somebody's car alarm. So later on, Karen comes home to police cars surrounding her apartment building.
Andy?
I love how those cops are just chilling in her living room and just kind of ignore her while she runs around in a panic looking for her kid. Real professional, guys.
Andy! Mommy!
Aw. Andy's alright, but Maggie not so much. So Detective Norris, same guy from the beginning, gives her the bad news. Not only has Maggie somehow fallen through the window, but it looks even more suspicious because there are some very distinctive little footprints in the flour that was spilled earlier.
What are you implying?
I don't know. What would Andy be doing up on the counter, right? Besides, I already checked his closet. None of his shoes match these prints.
Andy comes back and Norris notices his shoes, which he apparently didn't earlier.
Can I see the bottoms of them?
Sure.
Nice level of detail on those pajamas. Even the bottoms of the slippers look like the bottoms of good guy shoes.
Get into bed. I'll be in a minute to tuck you in.
If somebody made those footprints, if not Andy, then who?
I don't know, and I don't care.
I mean, it's kind of his job to consider every possibility for who might have committed this murder. But he's being weirdly casual and kind of jerkish about accusing her kid. He could be a little more sensitive.
All I know is that I've just lost my best friend tonight to a horrible accident, and I would like some time alone with my son, who I'm sure is just as upset about this as I am.
Good on Karen for telling him off. Meanwhile, Andy notices the bottoms of Chucky's shoes, which actually have flour on them. And he immediately narcs on him. Fun fact, that picture on the dresser is of John LaFia.
You know who was on the kitchen counter? Chucky.
Your doll?
I mean, it could be that he walked Chucky along the counter. That's a thing a kid would do with a doll. But I guess since he didn't say anything about that before, Norris thinks Andy may have committed the murder, and he thinks he can fool them into believing his doll did it.
What?
You gonna call me?
You don't give up, do you?
I hate loose ends.
And I hate people who don't know when to stop.
Oh my god, this guy's even worse.
A spirited lady.
No kidding.
Can you believe her? You'd think her best friend just died while watching her kid or something. Anyway, Norris suspects that the little good guy doll hammer is the murder weapon.
No. Come on, you're kidding me.
I mean, yeah, technically they're toys and they're small, but they were made of die-cast metal according to the box, so it's not that weird. Afterwards, Karen hears Andy talking.
Andy, who are you talking to?
Chucky.
I
think she's a little creeped out by that doll already. She asks what sort of things Chucky has been saying back.
His real name is Charles Lee Ray, and he's been sent down from heaven by Daddy to play with me.
Yeah, apparently Andy's dad died at some point, and he has developed an overactive imagination to cope with it. That's gonna help explain his lack of credibility.
He said Aunt Maggie was a real bitch and got what she deserved.
There's a really funny story behind this. Apparently that was the line that Alex Vincent had to say when he auditioned, and he was uncomfortable saying it because his mom was in the room, so he kept pretending that he didn't remember it. He eventually confessed that he didn't want to say the line, but he had them so convinced that he had actually forgotten it that that's how he got the part. Like, he must be a good actor if he can fool us like that. But I just think it's precious that this little kid couldn't bring himself to swear in front of his mom.
And you say something so horrible.
I didn't say it, Chucky did.
But yeah, he insists that Chucky is alive, but Mom's not buying it.
Andy, stop it! Please!
It's because of Aunt Maggie you're yelling at me, isn't it?
He's not wrong, but damn, I envy this kid's ability to know exactly what to say in that moment to defuse the situation. I think he realizes how much stress he's putting on his mom right now, so he even says he made up Chucky being alive.
Thanks, champ.
That's also kind of precious, though knowing what I know, it makes me feel bad for him too. So Andy gets put to bed.
She didn't believe me.
I love that Chucky looks toward the door to see that she's just outside, so he acts appropriately.
Hi, I like to be hugged.
Aw. Looking back, it's funny to think how much Chucky must hate that, though. Rot, you little bastard. The next morning, Karen drops him off at school. Notice that there are other kids with good guy dolls around. Except that he ends up ditching, getting on the L train where he has periodic conversations with Chucky. Oof, any parent watching this must feel very uncomfortable right now. It's a miracle this kid survived going to this part of town alone. Okay, he's not really alone, but anyone who wanted to hurt him wouldn't be deterred by a doll.
Is that Eddie?
So yeah, he had Andy take him to where Eddie lives. Andy puts Chucky down for a minute so he can go to the bathroom. Like he's gonna stay there. Yikes. I'm guessing Eddie doesn't own this place. It's probably a condemned building that he's squatting in, hence why I assumed that Charles Lee Ray was also homeless. I guess I could be wrong about any or all of that. Either way, the gas oven seems to work. Also, Eddie's got a gun and is a bit of a nervous sort. Kind of explains his taking off earlier. Jackie! Oh, we just heard the laugh for the first time.
Eddie, have you gone nuts?
So, obviously this big-ass explosion drew some attention, and Andy was caught nearby and taken to the police station, and his mom is called.
I don't know how to tell you this, Miss Barkley.
Cut to Andy being interviewed. He seems to believe that Chucky didn't kill Maggie. Rather, she saw him and got startled, and that caused her to fall out the window. I mean, I guess if I saw a foul-mouthed doll running around on its own, I'd be pretty scared too. But we all know that's not what happened.
Why did Chucky want you to see Eddie?
Mommy!
That's too bad that she showed up when she did, because with how Chucky has clearly been lying to Andy, I'm curious how he justified the whole thing about Eddie.
Unless you start telling the truth, they're going to take you away from me.
You hear that, Chucky? They're taking me away unless you say something.
This scene is really heartbreaking. Andy's friend is screwing him over. Meanwhile, Mom thinks her kid is having some kind of severe mental breakdown. And hell, even Norris is like, don't make me have to lock up a little kid. This whole situation is just terrible for all involved. Well, except Chucky.
I'm your friend to the end. Heidi-ho. Ha ha ha.
I think that was his way of saying fuck you while incognito. Just gut punch that little asshole.
He told me never to tell about him or he'd kill me.
My name is Dr. Ardmore. Maybe Andy should spend a couple of days with us.
This is so sad. Poor Karen lost her husband at some point, and now she's about to lose her kid. She's still got Chucky, though. Lucky her. But now you can see the wheels turning, and just for a moment, she's like, what if he's right?
Say something, damn it!
Hi, I like to be hugged.
I love that reaction. Anyway, she ends up picking up the box to look at it just because it's there, and yeah, he's been talking and such without any batteries installed. But, you know, it doesn't hurt to check, right? Maybe those were spare batteries in the box.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Well, there's your answer. I love how he goes back to being inanimate, like he's trying to gaslight her. Then there's a tense moment where she very carefully pulls him back out.
I'm gonna make you talk.
Look out, Chucky. Mom means business.
I said talk to me, damn it, or else I'm gonna throw you in the fire!
You stupid bitch, you filthy slut! Did you fuck with me?
And Brad Dourif's voice is back. I think it's safe to say that Chucky is stronger than he looks. Seriously, I like to believe that despite his size, he has the strength of a full-grown man. This scene pretty much backs that up. You can tell that Karen is doing her damnedest to fight him off, but he's actually overpowering her somewhat. That said, he's also not averse to fighting dirty. By the way, there's footage of Brad Dourif and Catherine Hicks rehearsing this scene, and it's amazing.
Stupid bitch, you filthy slut! You think you can fuck with me?
I think maybe I like that take on the line better. Love where he pretends to bite her on the leg. He seems to be thinking about going after her again, but decides to escape the apartment instead. He beats her to the elevator, and she tries like hell to keep up with it. Even hits an emergency button at one point. But it's too late. By the way, this building has so much personality and style to it, it's almost like something out of a Hitchcock film. Anyway, by the time Karen gets outside, he is gone. Not for lack of trying, though, bless her heart.
Miss Barkley, what are you doing back here?
Andy was telling the truth.
She catches up with Detective Norris at the police station and tells him what happened in her apartment.
He came alive in my hand. I dropped him and he got up and ran out of the apartment.
Good night, Mrs. Barkley.
I love that reaction. Chris Sarandon is great. So yeah, he thinks she's lying to try to help Andy, which makes sense from his perspective.
Does this look like I'm lying?
Oh, damn, that looks painful.
Chucky bit me.
He must think she's crazy enough to have done that to herself. Since he won't help her, she's going to find the homeless guy that she bought the doll from, which is obviously in a very bad part of town.
God damn it.
Poor Norris. First he's got to deal with this crazy kid, and now the kid's crazy mom. He just can't catch a break. I love how she's all, he pushes a cart around and has bad teeth. Nope, no homeless people like that around. So Karen does eventually find the guy and asks where he got the doll, but
What do you give me if I tell you?
Well,
it nearly ends very badly for her.
yes!
Oh, you got? Oh, you got a lot.
No.
Fortunately, Norris shows up just in time.
Where'd you get the doll from?
A burned out toy store on Wabash. That's where I got it.
Of course, we knew that was the same doll, but now Norris does as well.
Well, wait a minute. Something the peddler said upset you. What was it?
And this is where it all comes together. That toy store where Charles Lee Ray, the Lake Shore Strangler, died, is also where the doll was found. The doll was with Andy when he was near where Eddie Caputo died. Karen gets all of this.
It was struck by lightning the night that Charles Lee Ray died.
How do you know that?
Because I was there. I was the man who killed him.
Norris doesn't want to believe that there may be a connection, but yeah, Chucky made that declaration about wanting to kill Eddie Caputo and Detective Norris. With Eddie dead, that just leaves Norris, so now his life is in danger.
Do you remember what you said the first night you met me at my apartment?
What about
You said you didn't like loose ends. Well, I'm a loose end.
He's like, you got that right.
Oh, my...
So I'm well past the halfway point, and it's about to get really interesting, so I'm ending part 1 here. If for some reason you haven't seen Child's Play yet, make sure to watch it before watching part 2, because it's a good one.